guys, how you doing? Welcome to Mavuno Young and Fearless, and today we continue on with our candid conversation, and we will be talking about men versus women and how culture is defining their roles in society and how church is coming in to bridge the gap. Stay tuned and have fun. Gender roles are important.
So one thing I believe in is divine design, that God created men and women for a reason. And in the divine design, there is a certain set of functionalities, I can say. Like there's a way men behave, women behave. There's a way men work and women work. I'm going to give a good an example. It's kind of controversial, but it's true. So I was listening to a pastor, and he spoke of the gender roles of women. So women are more relational, one way or another. And the relational aspect of women is even in the design. Like, they have food on their chests. Their skin is soft so that they can hold and nurture kids. And women have more capacity for relationships compared to men, even when it comes to vision and so on. So there are certain areas where, okay, just because of my gender, I cannot function as good as the other gender. And, having an understanding of that produces a kind of balance, per se. So there are roles, as in one role is not more important than the other, but identifying these roles produces a kind of productivity or balance.
So the reason I hesitated was because I'm not sure about the word important. I think gender roles are there, and yes, they're there for a reason, but I don't know that they're so definite that they're important, because I feel like society has come to the point where we've proven that women can do a lot of things that men can do, and this vice versa. Like, it doesn't necessarily, you're not supposed to be confined in a certain area, and we also, as human beings, oscillate through a lot of them. You could be born a female, but there's things you like to do that are considered masculine. So roles are important, yes, and I think they serve a purpose, but I don't know that society needs to term them as important. I don't even know if that makes sense. Yeah, that's why I hesitated.
You've said that you don't believe that they should be named like important. But I believe that they're important because, of course, we've come to know that there are some things men and women can do. Women can do better than men. There are some things men can do better than women. Yeah, but I believe that they're important because some of those roles, they've come to shape people in. They've come to shape us, like in life, with certain skills. Yeah, there are certain aspects that we've come to learn. Yeah, like. Some of us men, let's say, for example, it's in the simple things like cooking. Let's say the previous society, it was like men should be in the kitchen, yeah. But some of us men ended up being men who can't cook, yeah. But now, let's say, I'm just giving an example, and now that we've come to be more diverse, like, okay, we can be brought up while being taught how to cook. Yeah, just giving an example. Now we've come to have that skill, yeah, that most of our grandparents didn't have, yeah. So we can also be in the kitchen and be good.
But isn't that contradicting what you're saying, though? That gender roles are important, but then, like, people are becoming more and more competent in life in general by not necessarily restricting their genders to specific roles. You teach a human being to be a human being. You're not confining them to a specific role that they should or shouldn't do.
I don't think they were. I don't think they were. They were confined in that way. I just no.
Do you want me to qualify how they were confined? Mm-hmm. So, for example, like men, like you said, men were brought up never having entered the kitchen, so they grew up not knowing how to cook. I would believe, like, if you spend half your day with the cattle, whatever traditionally they used to do, you're not going to know how to do it. So you're confined. They're saying this is what you have to do. As a person, we've brought you up to be able to do only this specific thing.
Okay, I don't believe that they weren't maybe allowed to not to do it, yeah. But it's just that it was a thing then that most men don't cook, yeah. Because I believe they used to roast meat, things like that, yeah.
Okay. I don't.
So this is maybe a different perspective I'll give you. I believe that every individual has, let me say, a masculine and a feminine entity. No one is masculine 100% and no one is, feminine 100%. So apart from male and female, there is masculine and feminine. So that's like a different way to qualify, to classify the roles.
So please explain the difference to me.
So, okay. Masculine traits are traits that are considered dominantly male.
So isn't that gender roles then?
No, it's not necessarily generalizing them. It's just that these characters show up more in males.
I disagree.
Okay. So it's just that these characters tend to appear more in males. And feminine traits or feminine characters tend to appear more and more in females. So it's really a matter of self-awareness and knowing where you fit. Like, for instance, let me say, in society, they'd assume that maybe managing money is a masculine role, that the man manages the money, but that's not necessarily the case. You really just have to assess who is better at a particular role and, you split.
So who is better regardless of gender roles? That's why I kind of feel like what you guys are saying is
really,
kind of contradictory.
It really depends on a person. Like, it really depends on your degree of knowledge. How because sometimes some people say that it's not good to manage money while being, let's say, when you don't have control of your emotions, maybe. Like, okay, money is not emotional. We were from that class earlier. So it's really just a matter of you knowing yourself, being self-aware, and knowing what you do best. Like, for instance, I've learned to cook very well. Like, personally, okay, despite being a guy, like I have learned to cook very well. And okay, as much as a lot of men don't cook, the best chefs in the world are male-ish. So it's really just a matter of you being self-aware, you pushing a certain value towards maybe the relationship or to the balance.
Is there really, maybe it comes from a point of having lived alone for quite a while. So I really don't think that I don't say anything that I can do that a man can do. For example, changing light bulbs. You're alone in the house, you'll have to do it. If you're a single mom, it's paying school fees, you'll have to do it. If it's, you're literally the only person in the house. So whatever decision needs to go by that house, then you'll have to be the one to make it. So in a case where there is no man to make that decision, then you'll have to make it. I don't see anything that would be difficult for me to do where the situation doesn't allow me to have the other side to do it.
I also think I think they're necessary to maybe in the context of family because of ownership of responsibility. I mean, there's certain roles that a woman would play in bringing up a child and a man would play in bringing up a child. That I think that in that context, roles are important. But otherwise, functioning within society, I don't necessarily agree that they're important.
How do you get to learn those roles that become important when it comes to raising a family? It starts when you're a child, right? So it means they're important.
Yeah, you can learn them in the context of a home. That's my point. You can learn the roles in the context of a home. I feel like I see a place for it there. Other than that, functioning within society, I don't see the benefits of it. There's nothing.
So I don't necessarily agree when it comes to splitting, society and family. Like, family is an SI unit in society. Like, every society stems from, people who are in families. So as much as you might feel like, oh, this is not a big thing, maybe in corporate or whatever, there is still a certain sense of, let me say, balance or security that, starts from maybe.
But when we're in an office, explain to me how then gender roles come into play.
Okay, I wouldn't necessarily speak in terms of an office, but
that's what I mean when I talk about society as opposed to like family dynamics.
So is society necessarily corporate?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. In other contexts of society, because other contexts of society function corporately. It's like we have specific things that people do that function systematically. So that's my point. Is like in those areas, I don't necessarily see how your being a man and my being a woman is going to prevent me from doing specific things.
Okay. I think, okay, maybe society is determined more by, let me say, job, JD, job description, I guess. So it's like you're given a certain set of tasks and you perform them in the manner which is stipulated. And I think that's kind of the same context when you bring it back. Like, it's not really about, okay, this is him, this is her. It's really about, okay, you take this and I will do that. Let's split the roles so that we can produce a balance. So it's not really who versus who, but it's let me analyze your gifts, let me analyze your strengths, and let's use that. And let me analyze my gifts and my strengths, and let's use that.
Regardless of masculinity and femininity?
It really depends on you. I believe it really depends on you.
So I think we're still going back to the same thing, where I think I agree with what you guys said, but I also think some of your stance is contradictory as well. So I think we all agree. I think gender roles are there, and they're there for a reason. I don't necessarily know that I would qualify the word important in the I don't know what important means. That's my point.
Maybe I'll also add that for me, in a place where you'd say there's something that needs to be done, so there's no man to do it, so it won't be done. It has to be done, right? So in a place, it has to be done,
you
correct?
can get another man to do it.
If he's not there?
You can look for a man to do it.
Okay, so let's sit down and wait for a man to come and do it while we women chill.
You don't wait while chilling. Getting another man to do it, if you can do it, it is okay. But it's okay. But if you can do it, just get another man to do it.
They sell them in the streets.
Yeah, there are a lot of men in the streets.
I don't know, but I don't think
don't you
putting
have
the
male
word
friends?
important. I have male friends, but I
Yeah.
think putting the word importance there, for me, I don't know. It doesn't sit well in my stomach, if I would say. I mean, they're there, but importance for me, that's where the thing is.
Men and women are treated equally in the Kenyan society. No one agrees? Okay. All of you, come.
We live in Kenya. Men are really dominant. It's been like that for forever. So in most communities, men have been the leaders, So this being the situation, just men tend to act dominant over the women. And it's seen in very many, spaces right now in Kenya. Even still in the job industry, we have some people who pay women less than men. So I think, that's the case.
The women are treated in such a way that there's things women can't do and men can do them better. Let's say preaching. Sometimes you'll find a woman preaching and it's that's not a woman's job. And there's literally no place I've heard that this is something a woman's supposed to do and this is something a man's supposed to do. So I feel like the women are treated lesser than the men.
For me, you ever ask someone or maybe have a conversation around a CEO, the first question they'll ask you is, what is his name? Why can't it be what is her name? So I feel like men have really dominated. Even you will see that in jobs, we'll see that in, society in general. Sometimes you'll go lift up something, you're told, just leave that one. A man will come and fix it. So for me, I feel like they're really more dominant.
Well, yeah, it's true. Men have always been treated better than women in Kenya. Yeah, in Kenya. Even when you check the statistics on marketplace positions, over 75% of people who have been employed there are men compared to women. It used to be much lower for women. It used to be in the 50s from around 2015 to 2019. But now if you look at it, they've really tried. But the fact that you have things like women empowerment just shows you that men have always been treated better than women. Yeah. But I also think it's because women allowed us to do that. Yeah. Yeah, that like we were allowed to do that. So we just did what we did. Yeah.
Okay, so before you get mad, can I give a different perspective towards what he's saying? So historically, like I said, there have been roles, maybe. Some of them have been because of functionality, but others have been because of preference. Like I was listening to someone and he compared maybe life in the 1940s. Like you would tell people, okay, would you rather go out and fight a war or stay home with your kids? They'd be like, you know what, I'd stay home with the kids. But you know, life changes. You know, nowadays you don't necessarily have to hustle as much. You know, women are like, you know what, we want a piece of the action now. You're a CEO in an office with an AC. Okay, now we want that. But when it comes to, I'm very sure you've seen like the feminine movement abroad. Like whenever they bring up stuff like deployment, you know, go fighting wars, people are like, you know what, I'd just rather stay home and, you know, watch the kids. So it's really, it comes with preference. Also, it comes with, let me say, capacity. So men have maybe they have slightly more capacity to work in situations that are maybe high pressure or maybe more, let me say let's just assume how many men take up plumbing jobs and how many women take up, you know, similar jobs. So men can get messy, men can get, can do the tough jobs that people do not want to, most women don't want to do. So one thing I don't believe in is that, let me say the gender, you know, pay gap or something. So it's been debunked because it's illegal. It's actually illegal to pay women less for, you know, the same jobs. It's illegal. But there are certain jobs or certain fields that women do not take up. Like you just don't. Like, I mean, if you Google right now the top 10 maybe highest earning jobs, you'll tend to find that those fields are dominated more by men because, okay, of the capacity to work under pressure, the ability to work more hours, because sometimes women will be like, okay, you know what, I'm not taking extra time. Why? Because I want to go home with to, you know, spend time with my kids. So it's really just, men just enjoy work. We enjoy them, you know, the messy aspect of it because when it comes to, again, design, when God created man, Adam was created from, you know, the dust. So Adam has no problem going back to the dust. As in, if I'm earning $100,000 a year, send me to that hole. I will go, you know? But for women are more refined. You are, you know, a more wonderful, a more beautiful creature. You were created from the rib. It's a refined product. You don't like the dust. You don't like being clean. Like, I mean, you can just examine from a point of self-care. Like, if men want to do self-care, we will go camping, hiking, rough stuff. We'll go shoot each other. But women will go on vacations. You will go on a spa day. You will go. Send me to a spa day. I won't go to a spa day. Like, why would I go to Mombasa?
You're treading dangerously on stereotyping. But this is what I want to say. All of you have talked about systematic treatment of women. And while I agree with most of what you said, I want to know socially, like, what do you guys think? Do you guys think socially as well, women are treated better or worse than men? Because I also feel like it's a different
I actually forgot my point there. So I've been in Kenya for 5 years so far. One thing I can say, comparing to the culture I come from, is that Kenya is extremely tribalistic. And when it comes, it's very significant. Like, I mean, you have TV channels in different languages. That's like very deep. Like, there's a channel in Kikuyu, a channel in Luo, Kamba. That's extreme. So I feel like because of the dominating aspect, like, you know, because of tribalism dominating, there's also, how do you say this? You let it stipulate the roles that you are having in life. So yeah, there is not fair treatment. Like, I mean, just attending simple events like a nyama choma, they'll tell you there are certain cuts that women can't eat, therefore the men. So the unfair treatment is there. Like, women are being treated whatever. But in my argument, you know, have you ever heard the statement that says maybe the future is female? I don't believe that's safe. I believe that the present is female. Like we live in a feminine world. Like women dominate this world right now. I mean, even social media is catered for you people. Consumerism culture is catered to you people. Like I mean, right now, I mean, there are more benefits.
But is
that
it
women.
benefiting women though? Consumerism and social media culture, is it
Yes.
benefiting women, or is it
Yes,
a tool
because
to then?
it appeals to the things that maybe please you, I guess. Because okay, let me give another simple analogy. Like men usually get joy from having money. Like if I were to take money and keep it in my account, and I can say I have 2 million in my account, that brings me joy. But women get joy from spending money. When a lady comes to you and she says, I bought curtains worth 2 million. That's her pride. I bought curtains worth 2 million. You're laughing because you know it's true. I mean, look at this outfit. It's 800K. You get pride from spending money. So it fuels your tanks, just not the tanks that you think, Like, I mean, you get the thrill from spending money on an expensive vacation. I get a thrill from, keeping money in the bank. Like I can say, Kwamba, I have a millions in my account. So it fuels different things. It appeals to different things.
Is the objection that's coming for me. So I think that's more Western than it is Kenyan. I feel like the spending culture, I feel like our women, I'll say it in the Kenyan context, I feel like women tend to maybe save up a bit more than men do. I promise they do. If you, like right now, you just take me and maybe one of the guys, we go to our bank accounts and check the balance, you'd be surprised. Because I feel like men don't, we feel like men don't feel the pinch for spending money. A man will literally go somewhere, buy a very expensive car, and you're like, me, I just need to move. Until by the time I'm buying something worth 2 million, at least I have a car 8 somewhere that's just chilling. I'm like, okay, I want to spend, yes, but I'm cautious on how I spend that money. Men spend for today, or men think for today, but women, we think for tomorrow. How will the next day be, the day after that be? So I object.
Actually, I agree with you one way or another. And I think it's kind of because of, let me say, maybe the instances that have happened, trauma. Like you're saving money maybe because there has been an experience or a point where something happened or didn't happen. It didn't happen, So, that's actually true. It's not necessarily one way or another, but, these are aspects that exist.
But I also think there's a lot of instances where women are treated better than men, though. And that's why I was asking what you guys think socially, because if you look at, for example, like a woman walking in the streets without an ID, how they're going to be treated by police as compared to a man who's walking around town without an ID, or the incarceration rates for men versus as compared to incarceration rates for women. So there's so many instances as well. That's why I asked socially. Systematically, yes, there's a lot of reform that needs to happen, but there's a lot of reform that has also happened. But socially, there's also instances, and we cannot deny the fact that there's a lot of instances where women are given preferential treatment because of gender, and men aren't. So just to add a Spanish word.
I just would like to support that, thinking on that aspect. My mom says if you see a man in the streets and he's shouting, men will just go after him to beat him up, like, what are you doing? But if a woman screams, then everyone is going to check, what's happening, is everything okay? So I do agree with you that in some instances, women will tend to have more privileges.
Women should lead churches. Women should lead churches.
Say what? Women should lead church. So when it comes to leadership, especially the spiritual, I don't, how do I say this? I don't necessarily think it's a matter of men or women or blah, blah, blah. Because right now I feel like society is more balanced compared to maybe when, they were writing the books in the Bible and they were saying that women shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that. It was more a context of their culture. But as of now, if you are called by God and, you have the substance maybe, or maybe the qualification, it's okay for you to lead a church. Like, actually, if you go to social media right now, YouTube, you can tell that there are a lot of pastors who are women and who are doing well. And I feel like it's Okay, there's a different way in which women lead churches that's more nurturing, and it produces a different kind of growth. I'm not saying it's better; it's just different. So it accommodates more people.
For me, like I had said, I really don't see a problem with women leading churches, because like back in the day in the Bible, you'd see women were not really treated as so much as we are right now. And you can see Paul defending, like standing up for women in some of the letters. And I think, just like he said, women are more motherly, they're more nurturing than men. So I feel like for me, it's really good that we're actually evolving. So like I don't see a problem with women going into leadership, especially in church, because we're doing it in all the other places. Why not in church?
I'm kind of neutral on that. Of course, they should lead churches, but with a man's help. Yeah, yeah. Because I believe that there are some decisions that require a certain perspective. Yeah, that can be tough, especially. Okay, this might be a little bit upsetting for some of you guys, but I believe that when it comes to I know there are things like emotional intelligence, but the truth is, women tend to be highly emotional when it comes to certain decision, even men too. But we have a way of setting our priorities right when we make certain decisions when it comes to leadership that are not being influenced by emotions. So that's why I'm saying they should, but being helped by a man. Yeah. So yeah.
I think women haven't really been given that chance to lead churches. And if we do have them, they're few. So it's good to also give them a chance and see if what some people say is really true, that women can't lead and all that. Yeah, and also, we're all equal in God's eyes. God won't look at a man and a woman and say, oh, okay, let me talk to this man. I think he can do the church thing, lead the church thing, so let me not communicate with the woman. No. God communicates to all of us equally, So, yeah, women should be given that opportunity, and obviously with help, Yeah, even us men, when we lead, yeah, we also get help from a woman at times, because there are some things as men we are not built to, consider the emotive aspect of things. You get, yeah, same way when a woman leads, you'll need a bit of advice from guys also. You get me? Yeah, so they should be given that chance. We shouldn't be harsh on them for those who are. Yeah, give them a chance. If it doesn't work, we'll take note. If it works, it's okay.
Well, for me, I feel like leading a church is a whole different ball game. So I feel like as women, we go through a lot. So there's mentally, there's quite a lot that goes on with us, that I feel like leading a church needs a lot more commitment than possibly, and I'm saying this with a lot of ease and coming down, that a woman at this point, I feel like, might not be able to achieve to some certain extent. There's some sacrifices that comes with leading a church. You're required to, be present. Your mental state is really at some place where when you're listening to something and you need to make a judgment of it, it needs to come from not from the emotional point of view. But I feel like for us women, it's very difficult for us to separate that emotional part.
So true. That's what I said.
It's so difficult for us to separate that emotional part. I feel like right now, the place where we are at right now, I've seen more women step up to the leadership position, but leading a whole church, I feel like, y'all forgive me, but that's a different ballgame.
Yeah, I also just want to say, I love and I'm in full support of women in leadership, and I that's what I was going to say. There's a difference between, I agree that women should be pastors, but when I think about leading a church, then I think about leading it also systematically from the top. And there's things that I feel like, and I agree with Evelyn, that they can't be separated from the two. There's the different stages of a woman's development that I don't necessarily know within the church, and the pressures that come with working in church and the emotional and spiritual side of working in church, I don't know that I would prefer a woman to handle that. I think for me as a personal preference, I don't necessarily know that it's theology. I think that it would be better if a man leads it, because I'm thinking about things like pregnancy. I'm thinking about things like bringing up children. I'm thinking about things like menopause and all of those things that I just feel like are different cycles in a woman's life. And then a whole church also depending on her during those times. I honestly just think it would be better. It's more stability, spiritually, mentally, and psychologically for the man to be able to lead a whole movement as opposed to the woman within the church, because just church is just very emotional. I don't know that you can separate the two. So it's personal preference, guys. It's not theology. I don't know what theology says.